Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
Did you ever wonder, honestly, come on now, admit it, did you ever sit down and wonder who was the first person to look at a cow and say, I think I'll squeeze these dangly things and drink whatever comes out? Honestly, who would have thought, huh? Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith, and God bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning on a Monday morning, and I tell you what, it's hard to swing up on the horse this morning, I'll tell you. Hey, good morning, Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get rid of your garbage. 734-6969 Western Waste Services. And I wondered if she ever ponders about things. Do you ever ponder about anything, Gina?
All the time. And, you know, that was a great ponderance this morning. Whoever thought that they could get nutrients out of cows?
Yeah, I mean, here's a couple of cavemen, okay? And the Oog and Org. And they're just sitting there by their fire. They just figured out fire. I mean, these guys are geniuses. They are the Einsteins of the caveman world. And a cow walks by. Now, who was responsible, Oog or Org, of saying, hey, let's go squeeze one of those dangling things, and then we'll get milk and we'll all be healthier?
I'm going to put my bet on Oog.
You think it was Oog instead of Org, huh?
I think it was Oog instead of Org. I'm not sure. Maybe they saw a calf suckling and they're like, if it's good for the calf, it must be good for us.
There you go. And you know, we talk about Oog and Org, and now, Gina, we have Oops, and that's Al.
Oh, and Al is on for the pledge, and then we do have Mr. Michael Rogers.
All right, thank you. Al, good morning. The pledge, please.
What are you smoking on this morning? Who cares about how in the hell they discovered milk?
It's important things to know, Al.
Oh, hell, we know what milk's for. You doughhead. You ready?
Yes, sir.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, it's a good thing you weren't a caveman.
Well, at least I know where milk is.
Well, they do too now, thanks to Oog and Org.
So, what did you do over the weekend that was so exciting?
I tell you what, I had a wonderful weekend. I'm going to talk about it here in a few minutes. And I was bestowed with a very nice award, and I appreciate it. And we're going to talk about it in just a few minutes. So you and your lovely wife just have a new cup of coffee and put some milk in it, compliments of Oog and Org.
I don't drink milk in my coffee.
Okay, well, have a good day.
What about the officiating? Ain't that something?
Of what?
Yeah, exactly. Of what?
Okay. Thanks, Al. See you later. Okay. Hey, it's time for the weather, brought to you by Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. And this week they're having a back-to-school sidewalk sale. And I'll tell you what, you can enter to win a back-to-school gift basket that includes a 30-minute massage gift card for mom, school supplies, all of this through our friends at Cheney Flooring and Home Design. Oh, my. Schedule a free free in-home design consultation and sign up for their free do-it-yourself classes beginning in September. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for their blue door. Here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hey everyone, Michael Rogers with the Ranch. Not a bad day for today. Start over brand spanking new week of you, me, and weather. Sunny and hot, 90 for the high, 63 for the overnight low. Slight chance of a thunderstorm, and that'll take place for today and also for tomorrow. So your weather's kind of going to go up and down throughout much of the week. But otherwise, no major watches of warning are in effect, and just typical Magic Valley summertime weather. So enjoy the weather. So what do you got?
Thank you very much, Michael. RogersWeather.com. Great weather forecast for this week. Cheney Flooring and Home Design bringing you the weather at 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door, the number 678-6945. Really good folks. Hey, listen, I understand, and Gina, I don't know if you've had an update on this man's health or not, but we have had comments and some calls and some worries that our dear friend Russell Smith is a little bit under the weather, and we want to extend to him the very, very best of God's blessings, and we certainly hope he's feeling better.
I did not know that he was ill, so my prayers go out to Russell and his family.
Well, you know, Russell is just one very special person to this program, and, pardon?
I said he is very much so.
And, you know, I just, it saddens me to think that he's not feeling well, because he's been just such a dear friend and has been on so many of our programs, etc., so we want to wish him the best. God bless you, Russell. I hope you're feeling better this morning. Hey, Daryl's Cleaners at 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. My goodness sakes, you want to give somebody a nice gift? I'm serious, a really nice gift. Give them a gift card to go have their clothes cleaned, maybe the drapes clean, maybe all the tablecloths and everything that you threw in the drawer last year after the holidays. Now you're looking at the calendar going, holy buckets, we better get things ready for this fall. Well, Daryl's Cleaners can take care of it. 1223 Albion Avenue in Burley. You stop in and see them today. The very best. Kevin and Cindy, everybody at Daryl's Cleaners serving you. And another thing, too, that I am not the most computer efficient. Don't go laughing over there, Gina and Deanne. But I'm learning, slow but sure. I'm getting better. And they've got a 3 for free summer special. Free router, free 30-day risk trial, free installation at, of course, SafeLink Internet Services. Oh, my goodness sakes. All you have to do is call 677-8000, mention my name, get signed up. It is the best. SafeLink Internet Services, absolutely Idaho's #1 choice for wireless internet. Really, really nice people. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I'm going to take a little time here, and I want to thank some very nice people. I want to thank Dennis Crane of the Cassia County Commissioners and all the commissioners. They, Saturday night, gave me a very special plaque of recognition for having announced the Cassia County Fair and Rodeo for 33 years, actually half my life. I mean, I'm 66, and I did it for 33 years. Holy cow, the math is pretty simple. And I just want to thank Dennis for being such a good friend over the many, many years. Thank you. And, of course, Mr. and Mrs. Todd Powers. And I want to say thanks also to some dear friends that were the parade chair people. Not chair people, but they were the honorees. I want to say very congratulatory remarks to Ted and Betty Ann Higley. Just really nice people. And my lovely wife and I, Deanne, were honored on Saturday night, and I appreciate that. Thank you so much. And then also a very dear friend of mine, Leon Reed. And years and eons ago, when I used to work as a morning man at a radio station at Twin Falls, KLIX, quite frankly, I'll just say what it is. He used to come down, bring donuts and coffee in the morning to keep me awake, and that's Leon Reed. And I just want to say thank you for the very nice wood cutout that he gave me on Friday. That was very, very nice. All right, calls are welcome. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, 678-0459. The number to call. They're open at 7:30 in the morning to 5:30 Monday through Friday. They've got all your air filters for your air conditioning units. Now, these air conditioning units have been really working hard during July and August. Better make sure it doesn't need a new air filter. Stop in and see them today, along with all the rubber cord that you might need, the cord ends, and of course all the fuses, all the light bulbs, everything electrical right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric, 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Calls are welcome and appreciated. I want to ask a question. I'm going to ask Gina this question in just a minute, so stand by. I do have a question in regards to the new stadium for the San Francisco 49ers, Levi Stadium. And it's just a thought that hit me last night on the news. Hey, don't forget Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. And I talked to Mandy the other day, and she said, hey, tell everybody thank you for all your support during the fair. All the 4-H'ers that came in, all the 4-H'ers that got the discounts on their supplies and their feed. Just tell everybody thank you, thank you, thank you. And don't forget they've got all your health supplies for your animals. They got all your animal food, your dog and kitty cat food. They got all your Gallagher fencing. They've got it all for you at Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop in and see those good folks today, okay? Gina, quick question, and maybe we can do a little research on this sometime this morning, just as a ponderism, okay?
Okay.
Now, this new stadium, I was watching the news last night about the San Francisco 49ers and the very unfortunate case of many, many people having almost heat stroke while watching the 49er game yesterday. Are you aware of this? Yeah.
I am not.
And one man did pass away during the game.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
Now,
for preseason football?
yeah, but now here, just think about this for a minute, and you might laugh at me and go ahead and giggle and hee and all this kind of thing from my thought. But now this is supposedly a state-of-the-art green stadium, okay? And last night on the news, actually yesterday during SportsCenter, I came in the house for a little bit and I turned on the news and they were talking about this 49er Bronco game, and they were talking about how this new stadium, Levi Stadium, Gina, is so state-of-the-art with all the solar panels up on the top of the roofs. Now, my question is, would all those solar panels on a clear day like it was yesterday, a warm day, have contributed by drawing the heat into the stadium and possibly been a contributory factor?
The way my mind works, logically, yes, because those solar panels are black, and so they're automatically going to draw in the heat, and so therefore, you know, creating that radiant heat that's going to move throughout the stadium.
Yeah,
so, yes.
And there were complaints. I know I heard the announcers in the game. I turned on for a little bit. They were complaining about the heat and everything, and I just wonder if this isn't absolutely an epitome of supposedly new technology with the green movement wreaking havoc, because they had complaint after complaint of it being too warm, and I'm just wondering if that didn't contribute to possibly not only the uncomfort of the people, but also to that one man's death.
You know, honestly, I would say quite possibly, because I have okay, let's take this into perspective. I have a black car.
Yeah.
And my black car, when I hop in it, is extremely hot. Now, if I would have hopped into one of my other cars, because I have two white ones, it would have been much cooler.
Yeah.
And so black automatically is going to attract that sun and that heat, and it's going to how do I want to put this? It's going to retain the heat more than any other kind of color would. And so, yeah, I honestly think logically that probably did contribute to people overheating and all of the complaints and this one gentleman dying from stroke. I honestly think, logically, yeah.
I'm just really, I wonder, though, with political correctness and everybody with this administration putting a shh be quiet, don't say anything, kind of a gag order out there. I just wonder if this thing's going to get swept under the rug. But I have called a couple of people already this morning, and because of the early hour in California, some of my friends, when I wanted to call at 6, they were still in bed at 5. Some really didn't take my call as a friendly gesture, and some of them said names that I hadn't heard before. But
I can bet, especially when you're calling that early in the morning. And here's a thought. What if they, and this is just me speaking out loud, kind of my thought process. Okay, so the solar panels are black. What if they put like a white reflective underneath of that to bounce back the heat?
I don't know, but I am very concerned that maybe this green energy, well, of course we know it's not all it's cracked up to be, because over there in the desert in California where they have miles and miles and miles of these solar panels, there is a great concern for aircraft flying over those for the blinding effect, the heat effect, and then also for the mixing up of the transmissions of the radio waves.
And those are things that I never thought of, but it would be quite possible, I mean, logically speaking, because all of this takes into play, especially on an airplane. Oh, hello, I would not want to be flying over that.
Yeah, but I was just thinking about that last night, because they did show it on television yesterday about, this is state-of-the-art green stadium, and then they had problems. Now, the temperature, Gina, was not such that it was so exorbitantly hot by any means that any of the baseball stadiums were affected. It was hotter temperature-wise in Atlanta last night at the game between the Braves and the Oakland Athletics. Much hotter.
Just because I don't know, what was the temperature inside that new Levi's Stadium?
That I don't know yet. I haven't had the stories come out as to the actual temperature at the field level or in the stands, but you can imagine, they said the temperature outside this morning was in the mid-80s. Well, you're not going to toast and have uncomfort in the mid-80s at a sporting event. I mean, my goodness, I've been at Cubs games back in Chicago when it was 100 degrees, and yes, that's very warm with also the humidity. But there's something funny going on with those solar panels, and I'd stake my reputation on it.
I would like to know what the temperature was inside the stadium, because that would dictate, how many people actually got heat stroke, and of course, this gentleman passing away.
Yeah. Okay. Appreciate that. Thanks for your input. All right. Denny's Restaurant. Oh, we're going to be over at Denny's next week on the 28th for lunch bunch. Next week on the 28th. Don't miss it. 611 Overland and Burley, Denny's Restaurant, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. Holy smokes, we like it over there. And you got to get in there and here's a great idea, too. The gift cards for someone that you love that's hungry and they want to go out and maybe have a breakfast, or maybe they want to take their honey and go out to lunch or supper. Wow, what a nice gift. And the food is fantastic. The menu, fantastic. The service is fantastic. You're going to love it at Denny's Restaurant, 611 Overland and Burley, the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. And our lunch bunch will be next week on Thursday the 28th. Don't miss it. Well, I got just a moment before we get to our next topic. I want to remind everybody about Berry Equipment and Rental. And they've got they've got office locations. There we go. Better with the word and the L. In Twin Falls, Jerome, and Highway 30 in Burley. Oh, they've got everything you need. All your tillers, mowers, lawn and garden stuff, Bobcat equipment, all the Coyote tractors. They got a row of Coyote tractors over there, knock your socks off. All the Doosan loaders, everything. And they got a full-time certified mechanics working there. Great shop. They can serve you, and they will. Whether you're buying or renting, it's Berry Equipment and Rental. And that's in Twin Falls, Jerome, and Highway 30 in Burley. Just really, really good folks, okay? The situation in Ferguson, Missouri is going to resemble and take on the California Watts riots, if not stop now. This situation is going absolutely over the cliff in Ferguson, Missouri. I know people back in that area. I used to go back into that area quite frequently and do rodeos around the area, the St. Louis area. And this ridiculous rioting for nothing more than looting and breaking the law in the so-called name of racism. It is very unfortunate that a young man by the name of Michael Brown, a hulk of a young man, huge young man, was shot and killed by police. But here's the caveat. Let us not forget that laws had been broken. Let us not forget that we don't know the whole story as to, number one, why the officer pulled out a gun and shot the young man, or number two, what the young man was doing, possibly to instigate a crime or action against the police officer. There are so many things that are unanswered. But racism has jumped to the forefront like it normally does, thanks to the likes of people that are having their hand out with a tin cup, Al Sharpton. They make a living off of this. Now, there are going to be people in the audience that are very much offended by this and say, oh, that poor boy, and oh, the blacks are being mistreated, and oh, Al Sharpton's just trying to help. I don't believe a minute at all that that's what Al Sharpton is doing. He's not trying to help at all with race relations. He absolutely is a race baiter. Some of his comments over the weekend, and I have the quotes here, and he had emphasis on each word. We have had enough, Sharpton pronounced, adding that people who agree with him could make a difference at the ballot box. That's true. But he said nobody can go to the White House until they stop by our house, and he said we are not looters, we are liberators. That is as phony and as much of a lie as I've ever heard. Innocent business people, their families, everything they've worked hard for in Ferguson going up in flames, and or the windows are being smashed and people are just taking everything out the front window. And for Al Sharpton to say that we're not looters, we're liberators, that's a pathetic thing to say. And then he said, Michael Brown going to change this town. And he kept bellowing this and bellowing this and bellowing this. I don't have very much respect. I never had any respect for Al Sharpton or the Jesse Jacksons, etc. But this situation back there right now is extremely volatile. Yes, there have been major mistakes made by the local police force. Yes, there have been major mistakes made by the way they handled this situation. It was above their heads and out of their league. But to say that this kid was as innocent as the driven snow, when you see on the video that he literally walks into a convenience store, takes what he wants, and then when confronted by the manager, grabs the manager by the throat, pushes him into a rack of other material, and makes a threat to him when the manager comes back a second time. This hulking kid, he looks like he's about at least 6'4", 6'5", 300 plus pounds, and he walks out the store with the goods. He's a thief. He's a thief. I want you to call and comment. What about the black leadership in this country? Do they want race riots? Do they want lootings and burnings? Do they want more conflagration? Do they want complete ill feelings between whites, blacks, everybody else in this country? Is this the way to stir up what they want? And by the way, the question is, what do they want? Answer that. Time for the Capital Press Ag Minute. I'll be right back.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly. Federal regulators and environmentalists have finalized a settlement requiring no-spray buffers for several pesticides along West Coast waterways, but opponents remain skeptical of the deal. In June, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency announced a proposed injunction against spraying 5 pesticides within 300 feet of waterways if applied aerially and 60 feet if applied on the ground. That proposal, which would settle litigation with the Northwest Coalition for Alternatives to Pesticides, has now been formally entered into the court docket, awaiting approval from a federal judge. The buffer zones are intended to protect endangered and threatened salmon and steelhead, but critics of the deal say they've been set arbitrarily. This is Brandon Tenner. For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and CapitalPress.com.
Thank you very much, Capital Press. And don't forget, too, our friends at Snyder's Surplus, 112 South, 200 west of Rupert. Snyder's have the banana box size boxes of food all put together for just $10. And in that box are going to be 3 boxes of cereal and marshmallows, chocolate bars, mayonnaise, flavored ice crystals that you just add the water, women's one-a-day vitamins, salad dressing. All the food is top brand and for only $10. Great to have around the house in a case of emergencies. And that's the place to go. Snyder's Surplus. It's not just Army and hunting supplies. No. They've got something for everybody at 112 South, 200 west of Rupert. Stop in and see them today. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. Well, what they really want is the transformation of America into a police state dictatorship. The part of the rules for revolution is to do what they're doing. And, they're bringing in all these outside paid agitators, the new Black Panther Party. I mean, good grief. It's just, totally incredible.
Let me ask you a question, Adrian. They've done an autopsy on this young man, and again, I want to reiterate, in no way, shape, or form am I advocating trigger-happy police or anything like this taking the life of an individual, whether the young man is 18 or whether he's 80. I mean, there's got to be some common sense on both sides. However, they had an autopsy of this young man, and now the government, through the Department of Justice, they are asking to do their own autopsy. Should Eric Holder and the Department of Justice get involved in this?
Well, no, of course not. They're going to, you can see what's going to happen here. It's going to be kind of like a JFK when he was assassinated. All of a sudden, things changed from the original stories and to fit whatever their objective is. So, they're gonna hang this police guy regardless of whether he was accosted by this. This is not a small kid. They show these pictures like this kid's 180 pounder.
No,
I think he weighed he's quite a big.
He was over 300 pounds, and he was almost, I believe, according to the reports I have here in front of me, 6'4", 6'5". This was a huge. They called him Big Mike. That was his nickname.
Well, yeah, you don't generally get a nickname like that if you're a peewee.
Yeah.
But the pictures they show on TV, it's all one this morning. It looks like he's just an average teenager, 160 pounds or something. And that's this is the whole problem with the thing. So I've just got to take the time though to pay tribute to George Hansen. George had his problems, but I'll tell you, he was he would be the charter member of the Tea Party. Those of us that knew George Hansen knew he was working for constitutional government. He got, into the party politics, just, the Rhino Republicans and the neocons beat up on him so badly, and I'll tell you, George was a great man, and God is rich, or heaven is richer, and we're poor by losing George Hansen.
All right, well, Adrian, I got to run and do a commercial. Thank you very much. I appreciate your call this morning, as always. Thank you. Thank you. Sophie Shatterbox, I want your thoughts on this problem in Missouri. This is not going to go away. And unfortunately, in the heartland of our country, now the National Guard being called in, but the agitators, the agitation from the likes of Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson III and others stirring the pot with the burnings and the looting and the crime and the violence. Why? There was a tragedy, yes. There was devastation to a family by losing their son, and God's blessings to them. I can't imagine what that's like. But there were also extenuating circumstances. Extenuating circumstances of crime. Extenuating circumstances of perhaps, underline that word, a police officer that exceeded the force necessary. There are so many questions unanswered. Why doesn't everybody just keep a cool mind and sit back and let the investigation take its course. But what are they gaining by burning, destroying, looting, and absolutely making fools of themselves? Give me a call, please. Sophie's Chatterbox, 530 East Street on the square. Don't forget a great bakery right there at Sophie's Chatterbox. Besides having the best of breakfast, lunch, or supper, they're open Monday through Friday, 6 to 6, Saturday and Sunday, 6 to 2. Make wedding cakes, cookie bars, homemade bread, delicious cinnamon rolls. They are good. They are good. Absolutely the best. Sophie's Chatterbox on the square in Rupert. You stop over and see them today. Also, the Twin Falls County Fair is getting ready to roll. You better believe it. Twin Falls County Fair, August 27th through September 1st, with the theme this year, Carnival Lights and Western Nights. That is. Carnival Lights and Western Nights. Ag-based, family-oriented fair, and it's going to be a ripping good time for everybody at the fair with all the events, all the carnival, all the different things going on, all the 4-H, everything, and then also the Magic Valley Stampede PRCA Rodeo. It's going to be great. Don't forget it. Twin Falls County Fair and Rodeo. August 27th through September 1st, you be there. All right? Give me a call. Really, I would like to hear from you on this, because this is a part of America that has got to cease and desist. The black agitation from Al Sharpton and others is absolutely taking race and rioting to a level that if this thing gets much bigger and it encompasses other cities, it might even jump into St. Louis itself, or Chicago, or Indianapolis, or any other Midwestern city. What do they want? But the problem is the death of this young man, and the involvement now of Eric Holder and the Department of Justice doing their own autopsy, getting involved on a federal level. And this is very, very scary as far as I'm concerned. Very scary. One thing that needs to be mentioned here, and I might have touched on this a few moments ago, is that the initial reports, and you always hear crazy, wacky reports, unfortunately, in any story that are not verified. But there were reports that many of the gun shots to the victim, Michael Brown, were shot from behind. That is not true. That is not true. All of the shots on the autopsy show that they were shot from the front, facing the young man. And whether he was crouched down to avoid arrest or whether he was charging the officer, these things have not yet come out and been verified. But there again, let's let the experts come out with the entirety of the story. Come out with the entirety of the autopsy. Come out with the entirety of the police scene and what happened. Let's not have a rush to judgment, and for heaven's sakes, let's not have any more law-breaking with the riots that are going on right now. Your thoughts, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Did you break the microphone?
No, Jimmy's in the middle of switching out computers, and so I don't have to move the cows, so you get me.
Oh, well, now that is a pleasant surprise to hear your charming voice. There you go. Go ahead, caller, you're on the air.
She does have a pretty voice.
She does?
Yeah.
All right, what can I do for you?
Well, I'm kind of trying to analyze this. You know, I think that the United States may have thought that by electing a president who was of a different racial extraction, maybe we could start to see a smoothing out of this so-called race prejudice. And you know what? I don't know. I kind of get the feeling that it's getting worse. And somehow it seems like we're forgetting that we're one nation under God, and that the way we stay strong is by staying united. And, boy, we are being divided almost worse than ever.
I think that, Chris, what you have said, we saw it happen at the last election with the Black Panthers standing outside some of the polling places in Pennsylvania and other locations carrying black batons and a threatening nature. We have seen it with Eric Holder and the Department of Justice ready to jump in at a moment's notice and play the race card. We're seeing it with Al Sharpton and Jesse Jackson and others jumping in and stirring the pot with racism and igniting some of these fires of people going out and rioting. I don't know. I have never in my life seen a more volatile situation here in America like we do right now. America is burning and nobody's got a bucket of water.
Well, and the leadership of the black community. Now, they interviewed Dr. Carson, this morning, and he is such a calm and he's a thoughtful man that I think he could make some difference. But right on the back of that, Eric Holder is going to be coming down here and taking over the autopsy. I'd hate to be the guy that did the first autopsy on this guy because he is just going to be defamed. And, leadership means that you get the facts and then you hold to it.
Well, let me ask you something, Chris. Let me ask you this. Eric Holder is quick to jump in here and say that the DOJ, the Department of Justice, wants to conduct their own autopsy and jump in on behalf of the black Americans and show them that he is in charge and show them that they're going to take and let justice prevail from their standpoint. Let me ask you this. Remember the snipers, the two black snipers that went around the country and shot like 27 people and mostly whites? Where was the Department of Justice then?
Yeah. It's reverse discrimination. And I really believe we've got to have some cooler heads in this country. And I don't like what they're doing to the governor of Texas. Just one little thing, and they're going to start nitpicking him to death until I think he might be a pretty good president.
I do, too.
How long is that going to last?
Well, this indictment is a fictional, fraudulent, there's a slug of words I could use, and it's all because a Democratic woman involved in Texas politics got slobbering, stupid, drunk, and got picked up and thrown in a drunk holding tank, and Rick Perry thought it was absolutely, and I agree with him, not in accord with politics and ethics that she retain her office, and then she turns around and has an indictment against him, and I'm telling you, this is pathetic that a drunk, and they showed her in the holding cell and she was slobbering and acting like an idiot, can hold and retain her office, and she turns around and indicts Rick Perry, the governor. That's asinine.
Yeah, no, I just hope there's some leadership somewhere, and in Washington, D.C., we need it more than ever, and I hope some people start standing up for true justice.
I agree.
Not racial division.
I agree. Chris, thank you for your call as always. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Thank you. Caller, go ahead. You're on the air, please.
Yes, when I was watching TV and I see Al Sharpton come on there, I knew it was going to hit the fan. I don't know where he comes from, but he's a little rat, I know that.
Fred, let me ask you a question. You've been on this great earth for a long time, and you've had the opportunity to follow what happened in Selma, Alabama, with the George Wallaces and everything else. But right now in this country, it seems like, and tell me I'm wrong, but it seems like this federal government, this administration, wants to jump in and try to right all the wrongs from the blacks to the whites, and there's no equality. They just seem like everybody's getting a bum rap on the left with the black race in this country, and I think Eric Holder should stay out. What are your thoughts?
Well, what's the federal government got to do with this? This is a state deal.
Good question.
Actually, a city deal.
Yeah.
And they better stay out of it. I can't figure out what Eric Holder has got to do. He hasn't got anything to do with it. stay out of it. The only reason he wants to get in there is to create more problems.
I agree with you, and my dear friend, it's so good to hear from you. I got a bunch of calls. God bless you, Fred. Thank you, sir.
You bet.
Thank you.
Talk to you later.
Thank you. Caller, I'm going to ask your indulgence. Just give me just a second, please. It's time for a quick Michael Rogers weather update, and I'll be right with you. Stand by. Don't go away.
Hey everyone, Michael Rogers for Zeb and the Ranch. Not a bad day for a day. Start off a brand spanking new week of you, me, and weather. Sunny and hot, 90 for the high, 63 for the overnight low. Slight chance of a thunderstorm, and that'll take place for today and also for tomorrow. So your weather's kind of going to go up and down throughout much of the week. But otherwise, no major watches of warning are in effect, and just typical Magic Valley summertime weather. So enjoy the weather. So what do you got?
Thank you, Michael. Michael Rogers Weather. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Zev. Yeah, I've been watching this too, and, I think in the start, people were out for the right reasons because it appears that there was a mistake by the police department and a few things there. But we need to let the justice system work how it's supposed to be now. You see it's just a bunch of thugs coming out in the middle of the night and looting buildings, and it's nothing more than that. But what really is scary is that the people that are out doing it for the right reasons, why aren't they stopping those people from looting and destroying their own city? They're destroying their own economy, their own city. And that leads me to another point. I haven't looked it up, but I would like to see what the unemployment rate is in Ferguson, Missouri. And I think it would probably scare us if we knew the facts and where they're getting their income from.
There are so many points of interest that you bring up, and I'm glad you did. Ferguson, Missouri, by the way, is approximately 65 to 67% black. That's the population, and the rest being Caucasian and or Hispanic, okay? And your questions are good, fair questions, but let's just revert this back to another scenario. Let's just say that this is a small town suburb of Portland, which would be primarily a white suburb. Let's just turn the tables for discussion for a minute. Do you think, honestly, let's say that it's a small town suburb. Let's say it's the town of Molalla, Oregon, which is about 45 miles southeast of Portland, and that's primarily a white community. Do you think that if the same circumstance happened there with the shooting of a white teenager, that there would be the same rioting, burning, looting, and absolute horror as there is in this community?
Absolutely not.
Why?
Let's just bring it closer to home. It wouldn't happen here in Twin Falls. Because the people here, because of who we are, it can always be better, but government starts at the ground level. Do you think that we are going to watch somebody destroy businesses? We, meaning all of us, local people, are going to watch thugs destroy businesses, tear DMB apart, go to a fertilizer plant and do something? No, we're not. We're all going to, because that's our livelihood.
I agree with you. I absolutely agree with everything you said, but the problem we have in this country are those groups of agitators like Al Sharptons and the Jesse Jacksons that are stirring these people up. And here's another thing that you didn't mention, but you know it's true. Most of the people coming in for the looting and the disruption and the breakage of the businesses, the glass, the doors, and everything, are people that are coming in from other areas, and they're just basically stealing for the fact of stealing. It's the epitome of lowness of humanity.
They're thieves. They're thieves.
That's right.
And like I say, we know that there's been, but the police department laid down on this one.
I agree.
Sorry. There was a mistake made, but then what do? You lay down, and look what happens when you lay down on it.
I agree with you. It's
out of control, and now people's livelihood, they're destroying their own economy, and they're standing there watching it, and they're doing it in the middle of the night, Zeb. Who in their right mind protests in the middle of the night?
This is a situation, like I said a few moments ago, and I appreciate your call, that the volatility of this could turn into, with the suburbia-type atmosphere of St. Louis, this could jump into St. Louis. It could jump into, like a cancer, Chicago, Indianapolis. It could go into any city right now for what they want. But you know what? Tell me what they want.
They don't know what they want. They're thugs. They just want to steal from businesses and go home, and then in the middle of the night show back up. I mean, you know, we had the Rodney King deal in L.A. and all that, and went through all that. They squalled that right away, and then the facts came out, Zeb. You know?
I agree.
Facts don't lie.
I agree.
The Rodney King deal was no different, and then look at what happened to that man in the end. He really was not a nice man.
That's exactly right. You know, I appreciate your call. Thank you for your perceptions this morning. I appreciate it. Thank you so much. God bless. I want to remind you, calls are welcome, by the way, 436-2244. Zollinger Quarter Horse Ranch, the legend of this great sale continues. 26th annual production sale. It's going to be Saturday, September 13th this year, 10 a.m. preview, and then the sale. Don't miss it. Jerry and the family putting together a great sale of top-notch horses. I mean top-notch weanlings, and started 2- and 3-year-olds. And this is 50 years of breeding and 26 years of production sales with the best of horses, including, of course, the last sons of Leo and Pocotivio and Shining Spark and Highbrow Cat. I mean, bred for perfection. Yes, conformation, disposition, and performance. This is going to be a great horse sale, and it's going to be the 26th annual production sale of Zollinger Quarter Horses, Saturday, September 13th at 10 a.m. up at the ranch at 1994 South, 100 east of Oakley. Don't miss it. Okay? Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. The gentleman's point on the destruction and complete, anarchy, good word, in your own hometown. What good does it serve? What good does it have to have a bunch of thugs and punks come in from other areas 50, 60 miles away and smash windows, steal television sets, and steal everything, furniture, you name it, groceries, disrupt, burn, destroy? Why? What good is it going to do for that total anarchy? Except cost all of us money that we don't have in an economy that right now is shaky at best, like standing with your boot heels on the edge of the Grand Canyon just waiting for a stronger gust of a breeze to blow you into oblivion. What good is this nonsense going to do? Nothing. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to remind you about all 7 of the Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, and they are just absolutely the best. None better. No, that's just it. Plain and simple fact, none better. And they offer the best tire value promise in the industry with all their free services. You won't find a better value. No, you won't. And, of course, the best in front-end alignments for better handling and tire mileage. The very best in brake service. That's not bragging. That's the truth. The very best in, of course, like I said, shocks and struts, batteries. The very best in tires. You've known that for a long time. At all 7 locations. With Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline and Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. The best. Your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. The best. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. And I want to just also comment that Saturday I had the chance to go over and MC the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame banquet in Gooding. And, wow, that was so nice. That was so nice. We had approximately, I think there were like 10 inductees this year. I had the great fortune of being inducted 2 years ago, and the inductees this year were 4 members of the Edmo family, very, very strong rodeo family here in the state of Idaho. and a husband and wife duo, Mary and Bill Aller from Pocatello, and also from up in that area, Curtis Cutler, and then a man that used to ranch right here and trains cutting horses now, Dennis Manning, and Twin Falls veterinary Bob Monroe. It was just a treat to see Bob and have a chance to visit with him, and last but not least, Governor Butch Otter was inducted, and it was just really a nice ceremony and a great day. And the food, they had Jim Brockman. I've known Jimmy Brockman since he was just a little bitty tyke, and he and his volunteers put the food on. They even had his dad, Old Bill, doing some of the cooking. Wow! It was unbelievable. They had a bread that was, everybody was clamoring and saying, more, this bread is fantastic, and the dessert was great, everything was just great, and it was a nice ceremony. So thank you very much to the Idaho Rodeo Hall of Fame. It was really, really good. I got time for another phone call. Give me a jingle, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to just give you a kind of a reminder, and this is a reminder early so you don't forget about this. We are going to be broadcasting live and direct on September 11th, and that is Hats Off to Farmer and Patriots Day at Ramsey Heating and Electric, and put that on your calendar. Because we have done this now for years and years and years, and it gets bigger and bigger every year. And we're going to have a early morning breakfast right outside the door, absolutely put on by George Moss and his lovely wife Donna. It's going to be fantastic. And then we're going to have specials all day long, door prizes. I mean, this is a day you don't want to miss, and that's going to be September 11th of coming up in just a matter of weeks, right there at Ramsey Heating and Electric. Don't miss that. Hats Off to Farmer and Patriots Day. And George, with that breakfast out there right in front of the store early in the morning, whoo-hoo, are we going to have a good time that day. Going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to take a little break right now and come back next hour with Frosty Woldridge and also the Alliance Defending Freedom, Kerry Kupek. And don't miss a minute of it. Zeb at the Ranch, and we'll be back in 6 minutes. Good morning, hour number 2, Zeb at the Ranch, and of course we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations, and of course some of our great advertisers, including Pitmaton. Doggone, the pain is tremendous. Lee's Furniture, Floors and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho,
and we want to thank Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. You better believe it, they got all the dumpsters in various sizes, cleaning out the basement. Holy buckets, have you got a job to do, the garage or whatever. They've got dumpsters, like I said, in various sizes. Drop them off, fill them up, they'll come and get them. I'll tell you what, they are always at your disposal at Western Waste Services. Call today, get on the route service, get rid of your garbage, 734-6969. Thank you much. Oh my goodness, we got a guest on the phone momentarily, but we also want to remind you too about our dear friends at Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. They do so much to help the community. They do so much to help us on this program. Hanson Mortuary is a family place and with very flexible hours, and they are always there when you need them and want to talk to them. Call them at 436-5636. 436-5636. Always serving you and your family with the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert. Joel Heward, the manager. Call them today, 436-5636. Well, let's see if Frosty's on the line. We'll check with Gina. Has Frosty called in yet?
I called him. He's ready.
Oh, thank you, my dear. Gina's always got everything ready to go. And we say good morning to the old peddler. Hello, old peddler. How are you?
Well, good morning, Zeb. Always a pleasure, sir. And I'm speaking to you from Gold Beach, actually looking out at the Pacific Ocean. Spectacular scenery. Traveled down from Bandon, which is about 100 miles from the California border. And I have to say, stopping in Bandon was quite delightful. There's a lady there who, and for those of you who care about the oceans and care about what's happening to them, a lady named Angela Pozzi, P-O-Z-Z-I, and she was featured on, I think, 60 Minutes. I'm not positive, but I did see her work. And she has a website. It's www.washedashore.org, WASHEDASHORE.org. And what she has done is been collecting with her volunteers all the plastic that has washed up on the Oregon beaches over the last 15 years or so. And she's an artist. And she has created all of these extraordinary whales totally made out of plastic, turtles made out of plastic, all the plastic debris. She's created all this ocean art, if you will, and she attempts to educate, and she has classes, and she talks about how we need to create recycling laws to stop the plastics from being dumped into the oceans at the current prodigious rates. And of course, I don't know if many people know about the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, but 1,000 miles off of California, actually off of San Francisco, there's a 100 million ton floating plastic island bigger than the size of Texas, and it's called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. And she features that also, and she has videos. And we got to see all these big creatures. She's created birds, seabirds, whales, sharks, turtles, seagulls, you name it, all from plastic. And in many ways, it's very ironic that she creates this beautiful art. Her entire show place where we went and abandoned there features all of these big pieces. And she's on tour right now, showing the rest of the country, you know, the devastation of the Pacific and all the oceans of the world. And that was fantastic. And then we headed south from there and went through Port Orford. And Port Orford, oh my gosh, talk about beauty! Islands out in the bay, the Port Orford Bay, and then we just swept south along the Pacific to finally reach Gold Beach, and you just get to see miles and miles and miles of ocean with all the beaches just swept in white from the waves crashing in, and the birds flying over the surf, and of course the pelicans flying across the surf. And along the way, on all these little towns, you get to see there's crabbers and there's fishermen, and it's just exquisite. And they're all out just doing their thing on a weekend, catching crabs and fishing. And we've also, for those of you who don't know or have not been through Oregon, this guy named Condi McCullough is a man in the 1920s to 1930 as an engineer who was an artist, and he created all these McCullough bridges, and they're just like pedaling over a piece of art, through a work of art. They're just fantastic bridges with a lot of flair to them. So it's been a grand journey down the Oregon coast, and in 2 days we'll be into California.
I just thought of something while you were talking, and I'm picturing in my mind's eye the beauty and the grandeur of what you're seeing on the West Coast. And it's too bad that I didn't think of this earlier, that you could have got maybe sponsored by a video company and mounted a video camera on your forehead with the perception of biking through the entire Northwest with all that video. It would have been fantastic.
Well, as a matter of fact, I've taken 684 pictures, and for those of you who want to see a lot of the pictures, you can go to Sandy Lynn, SANDILYNN, on her Facebook. I've published a lot on my Facebook, Frosty Woldridge, and you'll see the stills. But as a matter of fact, I do have a Sony video camera, and I have been taking video, intermittently throughout the entire trip of the beautiful places. So I do have a video, and I'll post it on Facebook at the end of the ride when I kind of get it all together. So I'm catching this not only in word and certainly pictures, but also video. So we're getting it at all three all three aspects of the media.
All right, Frosty. Originally, when we started talking to you before this trip and during this trip, one of the burning questions, of course, is what does the general public across America, and especially the Northwest, feel about the problem that we have with this immigration, possible amnesty, possibly the president signing and allowing another 30,000 to come in here over the next couple of weeks? What are you finding out from people? Are they as upset as you and I?
It's a mixed bag, Zev. It's a mixed bag. I talked to one retired colonel, a U.S. Army, and he was adamant about completely replacing the entire Congress because they're doing absolutely nothing. He served in Vietnam, and he is absolutely astonished that we could fight. Our soldiers are fighting around the world, protecting borders around the world, and he specifically named, look how we have protected South Korea now for well over 50, I think it's 55 years or better. And yet, he said, we as a nation have done nothing to protect our own borders. And he said it's absolutely ridiculous, he said, and without question, a lack of integrity, he said, for the Congress and the president of this country to not protect the American borders. And he was specific on the Mexican border being overrun. And he said we need to vote every single one of those Congress critters out. I use the word critters, but all the Congress needs to be replaced with Americans who care about the security of our country, but also, he said, and I thought this was important, he said, we need to protect the integrity of, and I'm reading the notes here, the integrity of our country, and we're certainly not doing that right now. So that was by a retired colonel who had served in the Vietnam War. Now, a second man was a sergeant, and he had lived in California, in Los Angeles, and he said, I was so disgusted that, because he said, Los Angeles is becoming another Mexico. It's absolutely being taken over by Mexicans, he said, and he was a sergeant, and he said I couldn't take it anymore. He said, everything, if it's not tied down or inside a locker, gets stolen overnight. He said, we have horrible, he said, stores can't maintain it. They have to put the cash registers right in front of the door, and you got to keep an eye on everyone coming in and going out because of the shoplifting. And he said, I got so sick of it and he said my kids, literally, their schooling was just absolutely ruined because of all the different languages. And he said, so what he did is he sold his business, he sold his home, he sold everything, and he moved up to Bandon, and he is now, he says, I don't need to particularly work anymore, but I like to sharpen knives. So he was at a flea market and a farmer's market, and he was offering knives, sale of knives, and he says, I'm having a ball, and I'm up here where there's sanity, and it's still America. You're in Bandon, Oregon. And he says, I'm going to stay here for the rest of my life. And so that was a discussion with a sergeant from the Vietnam War.
Let me ask you.
He says he just couldn't take Los Angeles anymore because it's not only just another country, it's a bunch of other countries. I think that's important because if anyone has been to Los Angeles, it is a bunch of countries. You'll see signage from Korea. You'll see signage from from Vietnam. You'll see signage from China. you'll see signage from all of these other different, you'll also see signage from the Arabic countries. So what you're doing is getting this giant hodgepodge in Los Angeles. And for those of you who don't know this, it used to be in the top 5 school systems in the United States 20, 25, 30 years ago. Now it's in the lowest 5 rated school systems in the United States.
Yeah.
And they have 50 to 60% drop-out flunk-out rates in the Los Angeles schools, with over 100 different languages being spoken because of all these immigrants. And I want to bring this in because this guy was so frustrated, the sergeant, U.S. Army, that moved up to Bandon. He said, "There's nothing. No one cares about it. Nobody." He said, "No one is doing anything about it, and there's just so much apathy." And so he said, "I had to do something for myself," and so I left Los Angeles. And so then last night we had a waitress, and she said she moved from California. She lived in Fresno, and she says it's so bad. The schools are so bad. My kids were not getting an education, and they always teach down to the lowest common denominator. They don't teach to excellence anymore. They lower the learning and the teaching, and so she moved up, and she moved up to this Grove Beach. And so that was a conversation with her. And she says, now my kids are getting educated, and I'm enjoying myself, and there's not the pressure, and we don't have any killings in the Grove Beach. There's only 2,000 people here in Grove Beach. And then at last in Bandon, we had another conversation with a lady who moved from Los Angeles. These are all escapees from Los Angeles. And she was probably in her 50s, and she's a realtor. And she said, we just couldn't take it anymore, so they moved to Medford, Oregon, which is about 2 hours from the coast. Mm-hmm. And it's a quiet, nice town. It's got a lot of transplants. And she said, I saw the Roy Beck immigration gumballs and poverty 5-minute video on the gumball demonstration, and she said I also saw the immigration off the charts, his other demonstration of 10-minute video that's all there on numbersusa.org. And she also was a member of CAPS, CAPSWEP.org. And she just said, she says it's pretty hopeless down there now because there's nothing that's stopping it. It's simply overwhelming California. And as I've said in the past, I want everyone to understand this, that California is accepting 1,655 new people net gain every day.
Wow.
They're virtually all, 98% of growth in California, according to CAPS Web and numbers, is driven by legal and illegal immigration. She says, we couldn't stand the violence. We're strangers in our own country, in our own state of California, and so we moved to Medford, Oregon, and that was the conversation with a lady who was a realtor. In fact, her name was Kay, and so that was another discussion. So you can get a gist of what the people that have fled California are feeling right now.
Let me ask you this, Frosty, and I want to be fair. I want to be balanced. I want to be look at the other side, too. In all of your travels, when you've mentioned about illegal aliens, and you've mentioned about the Swiss cheese borders, and you've mentioned about the problems of people coming here with no border security whatsoever, have there been others that have said, so what? Have there been others that have said, we don't need borders? Have there been others that have voiced their opposition from the other side? Have you had that happen?
Well, as a matter of fact, there was a Lincoln County paper, and it's up there in Lincoln City, and I passed through Lincoln City about 3 or 4 days ago, and there was a story by a lady that we have to be a compassionate nation, and that we've got to take in all of these kids because we are a compassionate nation. And so she wrote a pro take care of all these Central and South American children that are crossing the border. So she had her, and she wrote quite a piece there. Of course, I'm going to try to get a piece to respond to it. What's the final result if we continue to do this? And we did catch 2 women who were walking their dogs in a little town. It was called Hawk Creek. Nueskin, Nueskin, I think it was, and it means a town or a place of many fish. And she says, we don't even take care of our own children in the inner city as well as we're taking care of all of these people, these children coming across the border. And she said it's disheartening that we don't take care of our own citizens. So that was a lady, and she was probably in her 70s, and dog walking with her girlfriend. Mm-hmm. So, and also there are a lot of people who are just don't even care. Stop Bothering Me was one of them. When I asked, what are your concerns about adding 100 million, legal immigrants into America in the next 3 decades? And then one couple just said, hey, next generation is going to have to take care of that. But yeah, it's a mixed bag. You got different thoughts, different feelings on it, and others. And like I say, the one lady in the Lincoln County newspaper, she totally supported bringing in all these children. What I don't think people understand is you keep doing that, and you keep adding that next 100 million immigrants one way or the other, you've got a big, big problem. And that's the thing that most of the listeners to the Zeb at the Ranch listening audience understand. But the rest of the country, for the most part, really doesn't have a grasp of what another 100 million immigrants are going to mean, and that's just the legal ones, not even counting the illegal ones.
I absolutely am fascinated by your report this morning. It's excellent. It's well done. And I guess the bottom line here, we got about 2.5 minutes left, but the bottom line is, are you finding anything that gives you a reinvigoration? Are you finding people that give you an installation of a new spirit that, yes, there is hope, or are we lost? I mean, hey, what's going on out there in America?
I think to just give a balanced appreciation, I think most Americans are just unaware. They're unaware, or they don't care, or it doesn't affect them. And as long as it doesn't affect them now, then there is an assumption that it won't affect them later. And of course, as we all know, it will affect our children, and it'll affect our way of life. It will affect our language. It will affect our culture. And places like Los Angeles or Houston or Miami or New York or Chicago are perfect examples. I find it ironic, and I've followed the Ferguson riots over there in Ferguson, Missouri, and how that's going to pan out. That the African Americans there are rioting or demonstrating and all that because one black kid got killed, Mike somebody. Mm-hmm. And from what I understand thus far, it's because he attacked the officer. But that, when you get Al Sharpton in there, you get all of this emotion going. I'm amazed why they don't, because I remember when Trayvon Martin was killed, between the time when he was killed and the time that he was taken to trial, or the trial came about, and the kid, whoever it was Zimmerman, I think it was,
yes,
was acquitted. There were over 14,000 murders by African Americans against other African Americans. 14,000 in just 1 year. And there's no demonstrations about that. There's no riots about that. In the July 4th weekend, 50 shootings in Chicago, virtually all of them by African Americans. So there's no figuring out what's happening to our country as far as rational thinking, logical action. The African Americans taking, doing something about even the murders that are happening within their own ranks. So we have a mixed bag of a country, and I'm not sure we can really, in the end, figure it all out or rationally or logically deal with it, because it is what it is right now. And as I contend, with another 100 million more immigrants into this country from 150 different countries around the world, we're going to see more of this kind of disenfranchisement. We're going to see more of this conflict within ourselves.
Frosty, real fast. I've only got about 30 seconds left. Next week, by Monday, where do you anticipate to be on your journey?
I'll definitely be in California, and of course, as I go down the coastline of California, of course, there are just literally, California has 38 million people. 38 million people, and it's on its way to 58 million because it is the most receptive state. It's where most of the immigrants go. 98% of California's growth is by legal and illegal immigration. I'm sure we're going to hear more people, and you can go into a store and ask direction or someplace, and they'll look at you because you speak English like you're from the moon. So I'm going to really zero in on how much the foreign, how much the foreign influx into California has affected California, because I used to live in Southern California when I was a kid. So that's going to be very interesting.
All right, Frosty Woolridge, I got to run. I know we had a caller waiting, but I'm out of time. Thank you so much for your involvement on this tour down the Northwest into California. An excellent report this morning. Absolutely excellent. God bless you and Sandy. Be careful, be safe, and we'll talk to you next Monday.
Thank you, Zeb.
Take care. Frosty Woolridge on his tour of America. Absolutely excellent. Caller, I am sorry I ran out of time. Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Don't forget, they've got a back-to-school sidewalk sale August 18th through the 23rd, all this week. And don't forget, too, to enter to win a school gift basket. And also that includes a 30-minute massage gift card for mom, school supplies, and there's going to be discounts on bedding and throw pillows and picture frames. Holy smokes, you better get in there. Schedule a free in-home design consultation. And also sign up for all the free do-it-yourself classes beginning in September at Cheney Flooring and Home Design, 1228 Oakley Avenue in Burley. Look for the blue door. Call them at 678-6945. Also, I want to remind you there's live entertainment at Duck Uglies, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley, right next to Berry Rental and Equipment. Oh, my goodness, and that's going to be the weekend of August 29th and 30th, and they're going to have the Nitty Gritty Dirk Band, and that, of course, Barton and Bowler. It's going to be great on the 29th, the Nitty Gritty Dirk Band, and then on Saturday the 30th, Barton and Bowler. Wow, great food, always great food. Great entertainment at Duck Uglies, 163 West Highway 30 in Burley. We're going to have our next guest on the phone just momentarily, and I want to remind everybody, if you didn't hear what was just said, maybe you'd better get your hearing checked. Did you hear that? Well, you'd better call right now, 312-0957. Mount Harrison Audiology and Hearing Aids, with a very nice lady that really cares about your hearing. Christine Pickup, Doctor of Audiology, at 1218 9th Street, Unit 2, behind the Minidoka Hospital, right across the street from the emergency room. You bet, 312-0957. Did you hear that? Well, if you didn't, you'd better get a hold of her today at Mount Harrison Audiology, now offering a complete wellness program with free annual hearing screenings. You check it out today. Did you hear that? 312-0957. And let's not forget, too, our friends over at Let's Ride. My goodness, that is where the fun is. So, holy cow, every day, Monday through Saturday, they open the doors at 9 a.m., go to 6 p.m. in the evening. They've got many of the 2015 models coming in now, the dirt bikes, and, of course, the ATVs, the Can-Ams, side-by-sides, and they got rebates on a lot of the 14 models. Holy cow, head for the hills this fall, have fun. That's what it's all about. They're located Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. Summer hours open Monday through Saturday, 9 to 6. And a great service department to fix you up and get you going and keep you going. Where the fun is sold, Let's Ride. You stop in and see them today. Right now, let's go to the phone lines, and we have with us the lovely representative with the Alliance Defending Freedom, and that's Carrie Kupek. Good morning, Carrie. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. Good to be with you this morning.
Kelly, we've got a lot of stories to talk about, and one is a story that I started carrying last week on this program and covering as much of the particulars as I could in regards to the Navy, and I'm going to state this in my words. You can correct me if you want to. The United States Navy basically putting its tail between its legs and running and hiding from an anti-Christian group that told them to get rid of the Bibles, and the Navy was ready to do it. Bring us up to speed as to what this story is all about.
Right. So as you said, Freedom from Religion Foundation, very hostile towards religion, very hostile towards Christianity, complained to the Navy about Bibles that the Navy had in guest rooms on their premises. And the Navy actually had caved into Freedom from Religion's demands and had removed those Bibles from their guest rooms. And there was an overwhelming amount of outrage and veterans being very upset about this, and obviously a lot of groups and individuals being very upset. Alliance Defending Freedom, we wrote the Navy a letter last week and explained to them that removing the Bibles was actually potentially a violation of the First Amendment, that they were showing hostility towards religion, and that they really needed to reconsider their actions, because this is a real big problem. And thankfully, the Navy has since replaced the Bibles into the rooms, and they are currently reviewing the policy. Now, we don't know what that means. We're not sure what this policy is going to be moving forward. But the fact that they thought that they could just remove the Bibles and that this was some kind of violation by having them in there was completely not accurate and unconstitutional. And it made sense that so many people were upset about it. They had a right to be.
Let me ask you a couple of questions, and I don't know these answers, so I want you to elaborate. Number one, these hotels and motels, were they privately owned or were they controlled by the U.S. Navy?
Well, they are controlled by the Navy, but no court has ever issued a ruling that government-run guest facilities allowing Bibles to be placed in their rooms violate the First Amendment. In fact, actually, the Establishment Clause, which everyone loves to throw around, it actually allows for private individuals and groups like the Gideons, because these were Gideon Bibles, to place Bibles at their own expense on government property.
The reason I asked is I was really hoping that they would all be privately owned, because I can't see how any way, shape, or form Freedom from Religion Foundation would have any basis, and you could basically tell them to hit the road, Jack, and they wouldn't have any basis to come back and cause a problem whatsoever.
Right, and the reality is they still don't have a basis.
Right.
The Supreme Court and numerous other federal courts have repeatedly condemned efforts to exclude or restrict religious materials while allowing other materials to be in a room or to exist. And like I said, the Establishment Clause allows for private individuals and groups like the Gideons to place Bibles at their own expense on government property. What the Establishment Clause doesn't allow for, though, is hostility towards religion. And the Navy may have engaged in that in removing these Bibles, simply because Bibles are religious. And, if they take those out, that kind of shows a certain viewpoint discrimination, especially if they allow other materials to remain. So that's actually the blatant violation of the First Amendment. And again, no court has ever said that the Navy couldn't do this, or any branch of the military. I mean, think about it. Chaplains on Navy bases and ships aren't illegal.
Yes.
Neither are Bibles in Navy guest rooms.
Let's elaborate on that a little bit. Is this the next war? Is this the next skirmish? Is to have the Freedom from Religion Foundation go after Navy chaplains? Are they going to try to stop this in our services? What are your thoughts?
It's hard to say. It would really be a shame and sad if they did so. I mean, for decades, the Navy has respected the constitutional freedoms of servicemen and women of faith, by allowing placement of Bibles in lodges, at no expense to the military. But to speak to what you're saying, chaplains and those who provide religious guidance, in service they are just vital to our military. I mean, they provide hope, they provide stability, they provide a place to go in times where things are shaky, uncertain, scary for our men and women in service. And so for the Freedom from Religion Foundation to go after these groups and to go after our spiritual leaders and attack them and try to force the government to discriminate against them is completely unconstitutional. And from a common sense perspective, it just doesn't make any sense.
Carrie, at the end of the story that you sent me in regards to this Freedom from Religion trying to start a movement to get rid of the Bibles, you had mentioned that Americans, I'm quoting now from the story, Americans concerned about the Navy's decision can respectfully contact NESC Vice President Michael Bockelman's office at 757-502-7496. Now, I want to tell you what I did last week on the air. Last week on my program, on the air, my board op and engineer, Gina, lovely girl, placed the call to Bockelman's office. I received a tape saying, leave a message, etc. I did. I asked for a return call and have never had a call back. I'm going to call again. It looks like they just got the tape machine on, and they're not going to return the calls.
Well, that's a shame, and I think that's fantastic that you did that, and you're setting a great example. Everybody should be doing this. This is, something that's unconstitutional, and it's not good for a group to force the government to show hostility or discrimination towards religion. It's unconstitutional, it's un-America, and it's not good for society.
Absolutely. Now, in the time remaining, I want you to talk about the Fourth Circuit Court striking down a Virginia marriage amendment. What's happening in Virginia? Another sad story of trying to get rid of marriage between a man and a woman and making it open to all, or what's the story here?
Well, we're hoping that's not the case, and the people in Virginia overwhelmingly had voted to affirm marriage as a one-man, one-woman union. They did this at the ballot box. They did this in the legitimate democratic process. They affirmed this in a constitutional amendment, and as we know, the Fourth Circuit, a 3-judge panel, rejected the people's voice, rejected the people's vote, and they issued this decision at the end of July. We, on behalf of the Clerk McQuigg, we asked the Fourth Circuit to put a hold on the effect of their decision until the Supreme Court of the United States heard the case, because ultimately that's where these marriage cases are going, and that's where it's going to be decided. So we asked them to put a hold on the decision so that its effects wouldn't go into place until, like I said, the Supreme Court heard it. The Fourth Circuit again rejected the voice of the people, again rejected our request, and so we requested an emergency order, an emergency hold on the decision with Chief Justice Roberts of the Supreme Court. And we did that Thursday afternoon. By Friday, we had heard back from Chief Justice Roberts in the Supreme Court, and they have asked the other side to respond to our request by today at 5 p.m. Eastern. So we'll see what they say, and then we should expect to hear something from the Supreme Court over the next couple of days, whether they're going to put the effect of striking down Virginia's marriage amendment on hold until they hear it, because, again, it is going to them, and they know that. And so far they have granted the same kind of requests in the marriage cases up to this point. So we're hopeful that they'll do the same with Virginia's.
Carrie, what you were talking about it solidifies an attitude that I've had for a long, long time. People voted in California to honor marriage between a man and a woman. People have voted across this country to honor marriage as it should be, sanctified between a man and a woman. And by rejecting the majority rule in this country, it's no wonder that people won't turn out to the polls, because we've got boneheaded judges that overturn their vote.
There's something to be said for that. That we complain that people don't vote, but when their vote, like you said, is just arbitrarily rejected by a single judge or a 3-judge panel, you're right. What's the motivation for people to vote? But again, people do need to go out and vote still. I mean, I think people, still, we have this constitutional right. We have, like we said, men and women who have fought and died for us to retain this right. And it's tragic when judges just unilaterally reject this constitutional right, this vital thing that we hold and cherish so dearly as Americans. And it's sad, like you said.
Why isn't a value system, and I know this is a hard question to answer, but Carrie, why isn't our value system and all the diversified principles that we've had in this country for years and years, which have made us great, why are they not being held up? Why are they not being honored? Why are the courts disavowing them? Why are they telling people your vote doesn't count even though you want to stay with the man and a woman vote, a man and a woman marriage, etc.? We're overturning everything through the court system, and there doesn't seem to be a value system anymore.
It's hard to say why it is, but even though people are voting, I think if there were more people who took a firm stance, who contacted their elected officials repeatedly, who were, bold in speaking about these issues, in the church, outside the church, in their everyday life, I think we would see a difference. I mean, law follows culture. And we've seen cultural shifts for a while, and there are a variety of reasons for that. But those people who do believe in the value of marriage as a one-man, one-woman union, who do believe in life and religious liberty for everyone, these are the people that need to be taking these stances and being vocal and being bold and obviously doing it respectfully, but fulfilling that as a duty of just public life and a duty to God and a duty to their fellow neighbor.
Carrie, I want you to tell everybody, and I really admire you and everyone with the Alliance Defending Freedom and what you're doing. Tell everybody how they can follow these stories, please.
Sure. They can go to alliancedefendingfreedom.org, or if they want some more in-depth coverage or information about some of the cases that we handle, they can go to adsmedia.org.
Absolutely. Lovely Carrie Kupek with the Alliance Defending Freedom, and I'll keep fighting for you. I appreciate it, Carrie. God's blessings, and we'll have you back on again in the near future. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Have a good day. Thank you. I called this Bockelman, and you probably heard it last week on the air, thanks to Gina dialing the number and placing the call. And I asked them to return my call, and that was on Thursday. And they did not return my call. So I'm going to call back again and be the squeaky wheel and tell them, no, you leave the Bibles alone. Don't touch. And as far as taking the calls, I'm surprised that they didn't have a live operator. They just had a taped, hello, this is so-and-so. Please leave your name and number. Well, I did, but I didn't get a call back, and I think that's rude. I think it's very rude. And I'm going to call this Michael Bockelman's office again after the program this morning and let him know, hey, leave the Bibles alone. Calls are welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I am fed up with minorities trying to introduce laws and legislation to overrun majorities. I'm sick of it. Fed up with it. And I'm fed up with catering to those squeaky wheels. I'm fed up with it, and I won't do it. Will not do it. Whether it's in regards to political correctness or whatever, I won't honor them at all. I'm fed up with them. It's time for the weather, and it's brought to you this hour by Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Reese Widmeyer, the manager, good old boy. And they've got everything in there. It is the great indoors for those who love the great outdoors. They've got it all. I mean, whether it's all your archery supplies, archery season is here right now. You know that. And hunting and fishing, camping, boating, ATVing, electronics, knives, tools, everything at Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. And here now, Michael Rogers weather.
Hey everyone, Michael Rogers with the Ranch. Not a bad day for the day. Start over brand spanking new week of you, me, and weather. Sunny and hot, 90 for the high, 63 for the overnight low. Slight chance of a thunderstorm. And that'll take place for today and also for tomorrow. So your weather's kind of going to go up and down throughout much of the week. But otherwise, no major watches of warning are in effect, and just typical Magic Valley summertime weather. So enjoy the weather. So what do you got?
Thank you, Michael. And of course, the weather brought to you this hour by the great Indoors for those who love the great outdoors, Sportsman's Warehouse, 1940 Bridgeview Boulevard in Twin Falls. Love that store. Love that store. Oh, let's check and see what Little Miss Sunshine is up to this morning. Are you having a good day, or is it still kind of gloomy and dark inside the studio?
Still kind of gloomy and dark. We're in the middle of switching over computers. We're getting ready to install a brand new operating system, and so it's a mess in here.
Why today? Why now? Why not late in the evening, like from midnight till 6 in the morning, so that you're not bothered?
That's not the way it works. That's not the way it works. And we're doing a complete system-wide. All of our stations we're upgrading to a different operating system, and so we've got to get all stations up, ready to go, and a new operation system will be online September 8th.
So what does this mean, I mean, to the average listener out there, or to me, you, everybody? I mean, is it going to be an easier system for you to mechanize everything together, or what?
Eventually it will be easier, but there is going to be a learning curve, and we've all got to go through classes for 2 weeks just to learn how to run the new system.
Oh, doesn't that make you feel warm and fuzzy?
Oh, boy, howdy, yes it does. But once we get it up and running and we're all comfortable with it, then it will be so much easier, because then anybody can access all stations from one studio instead of having to go back and forth.
So what you'll be able to do is launch like drones to fly overhead and spy on people and everything else?
No.
Oh.
But that would be kind of cool, but no. We won't have that capability.
I thought maybe
we'll be able to access our Jerome studios from, like, the K-Bar studio here.
Wouldn't it be really kind of interesting, though, if you could launch a drone and you could go spy on other radio stations and their sales staffs, and then you could steal all the information and you could go to those people first and make the sale? Oh, you've got a good computer system there.
That would be awesome, but that's also called Facebook.
I'm surprised that Kim hasn't invested in that.
We've always got our ears to the ground and everything, but Facebook is always a great opportunity tool to find out what other stations are doing.
Putting your ear to the ground, sweetheart, does no good other than getting a dirty ear and run over.
Yes, and honestly, that was kind of me this weekend. I got covered in grease and dirt.
Why?
Still working on my daughter's car, and then...
Now, which one is this? You got so many cars you're working on.
I know. It's the 75 Super Beetle, and I'm not an aficionado when it comes to Volkswagens, and so this has been a complete learning curve, not only for me, but for my boyfriend as well. And so the goal was to deliver her car on Saturday, but because there are so many things that we have to fix that we didn't know about, we've actually had to push that off to September 13th.
Now, wait a minute. What is so hard working on one of those old Volkswagens? You got a pedal. You've got a... I'm kidding. My wife used to have one of those old Volkswagens, the ones that look like a tortoise shell turned upside down. Yeah. And, man, that was a great car, and really quite a comfortable car to ride in.
This car is so small. My daughter's only 4'11", so this car is going to be absolutely perfect for her. For me, and for a tall person, not quite so much.
What are you, about 5'7"?
I'm about 5'7", yeah. And there's no room in the back seat. I mean, you might as well just pretend that the back seat isn't there, because there's no leg room.
I see.
Yeah. Okay. So it's just been kind of a different thing, because I'm used to engines that have, radiators, and there's all these other different kinds of things. And, well, this one doesn't have a radiator. It's air-cooled. And so the heater exchanges, you don't have a heater core. You have heater exchanges that run on your exhaust pipes. Well, hers weren't there, so we were having to install them.
Here you are, a little Miss Mechanic in this computer school. Why don't you teach the doggone thing? You know all about that anyway.
Once I learn the system, I will be able to, but it's learning the system, and it's, I've seen the screens, and there's a lot of buttons.
I got a picture in my mind's eye of you being the teacher, and me being one of the students, and you're trying to teach me how to run a computer, and I see you after the second day, running out of the building, stripping off your clothes, tearing your hair out, yelling and screaming, and jumping into the Snake River Canyon. I can't take it anymore.
I would be the type of teacher that has a ruler in her hands. and whacking students on the hand.
In my case, it wouldn't be a ruler, it'd be a 2x4.
Kurt, whack! No, it's just kind of a... Our studios are going to be a mess for a little bit, and so just kind of bear with me, Zeb, as we kind of move through this process.
No, I understand. Well, your mess over there is no different than the mess that I have here.
No, actually, my studio kind of looks like your office right now.
No,
mine's all full of computer equipment, and yours is just full of papers.
No, in fairness to the situation, lady, now, I don't like to be denigrated like that. These piles and reams of paper are extremely important for the mainstay and the health of my program and also the future of the world. There are papers here that Obama's administration are craving, but I won't turn them loose.
The future of the world resides on your desk, right?
It tipped over. Well, not the future of the world, but one of the piles tipped over the other day, and my wife just sat there and thought, there's over 3,000 sheets of paper in that one pile.
And has anybody gone through it, or is it still there?
No, that's too much work.
So the pile's still there, all discombobulated.
Oh, it's picked up off the floor, and as a matter of fact, have you got your camera on?
No, I don't have internet.
Well, it's too bad you don't have your camera on, but for those that are watching on the internet, you can see over my left shoulder, this pile is at least 11 inches high. This is just one of the piles here on my desk.
I think we have somebody calling in to comment on the pile.
Oh, boy, I'll do a quick commercial. We'll be right with them.
Okay.
Stand by. Don't forget life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, everything of this nature and more with our dear friends Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens, at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Yes, very dedicated and devoted to serving you and maintaining and helping your successful future. So please get a hold of them today, 436-4424, Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yeah, hey, do you remember when a student was at a university and it was like the first day of school?
Yep.
And the professor said, I want you to write something about Jesus, that Jesus is dead, and I want you to wad it up and throw it on the floor and stomp on it or something like that.
Yeah.
And this one student protested and it got on the news. Well, there was a movie called God Is Not Dead.
That's right.
That I rented, and have you seen it?
I am getting it. It's an absolutely excellent movie, and I believe, help me if I'm wrong, but I believe that Kirk Cameron was responsible for putting that movie together. Is that not true?
Well, you might know. I don't know about that, but I know that there was an excellent movie, and it was done very professionally, and there's this new company called Pure Flix, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
And they're going to start making movies that are family-oriented. But this, it starts out with this professor telling this class that, so we don't have to waste time in philosophy class. We're just going to get rid of the fact that there is no God. He says, I want you to write a paper and say, God is dead, sign it and hand it to me, and we'll get on with the class.
Yeah.
One kid said, well, I can't do that. And then the movie began to go from there, and I'm not going to tell any more, but it was a very, very good movie, and I just enjoyed it to death. And
well, Randy, I want to interrupt you right there. Randy, I want to interrupt you right there. And that first circumstance and scene actually did take place. That was a live occurrence, and we had that. It was about a year ago that took place with a college student, and they filed a protest against the college and also the university professor for doing that. And that was the motivation for that scene in that movie.
Exactly, and so it was an excellent movie, and one of the things that as the movie went on, as this young man, a freshman, taking on this professor, he went through and they were proving even people that were atheists had to come to the conclusion that something created something.
Yep, I got to run, Randy. I'm running late. I'm out of time. I got to go to do a commercial and then go to the news. So call me back on this tomorrow. We'll talk more about it, I promise. Okay?
That's right.
Thank you. Hey, don't forget Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley. Voted #1 furniture store in the Minicash area by the Reader's Choice. You better believe it. Friendly folks that really know furniture. Whether it is power rocker recliners, whether it's sofas, love seats, whether it's all the carpet and floor coverings, whether it's a bedroom set, whether it's mattresses, it doesn't make any difference. They know everything about how to make you comfortable and beautify your home. And all the accessories, too. And the Flex Steel furniture. The list goes on and on and on and on. They are the best at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see them today at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More. We're going to take a little break, and we're going to let the folks over at the main studios study their computers and do all that stuff. Boy, I can't handle that. We'll be back in about 6 minutes after the ABC News. Don't go away. Holy cow, hour number 3 already. Why, it seems like we've only been doing this for like 3 days. Good morning, everybody. Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers. And they include Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley, and our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today. Call them at 734-6969. Oh, by the way, Gene, a little personal note right there. You buy your microphone real quick?
Yeah.
When you talk to Leah Carawan, would you tell her and explain to her that due to the change of computers, we can't play that opening that she wanted? I would appreciate that. Thank you so much.
No problem.
Thank you. Our guest is going to be with us in just a moment, but first of all, I want to remind you about what's going on at the Chadwick at 139 West Main in Burley. Here's what's on the menu for today. Pork osso buco. Served with choice of potato, vegetables, super salad for just $9.95. Now, for those of you that think I don't know what pork osso buco is, it's a traditional veal dish, but this gentleman that's doing the cooking is substituting pork loin. It's lightly braised in white wine, and meat broth flavored with vegetables. The braising liquid is then turned into a sauce to accompany the meat. And you thought I didn't know my menus. Au contraire. Served with choice of potato, vegetables, super salad. It is delicious at the Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Let's go to the phone lines right now, and we have with us a veteran that has served our country, America, oh so well. Let's say good morning to Mark Earsley. Mark, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. How are you doing today, Jeff?
I am great, and I want to say thank you very much to all the folks that recommended I get you on the air, including my dear friend Monty Bruin. And Mark, I'm going to ask you kind of basically to give me a little synopsis as to not only Idaho and Heroes Outdoors program, but give us a little background as to you serving our great United States and what happened to you, and then also your experience with Idaho and Heroes. Go ahead, if you would, please.
Well, I hope you got a little time for me, Dad, but here we go.
All right.
I served our country for 10 years, and I served over in the Gulf War and several other theaters. I served in the Air Force. I started out as an aircraft mechanic on F-111, and after 4 years of that, cross-trained into air traffic control. Did air traffic control for a few years, and then got hooked up to a combat unit out of Oklahoma City. And at that point in time, I was always deployed. During that time, I injured my leg quite bad a couple times. First, I initially heard it playing football, believe it or not. Then when I was over in the sandbox, I stepped in a hole of a landmine. And when I landed on that, my foot was facing up my back, and I just told my buddy that says, why don't you just help me up and get me out of there and I'll be all right. Well, it didn't quite work out that way. Well, anyway, to make a long story short, I had 20 operations trying to reconstruct my right leg. And it finally came down to the choice of, fused leg, stay in a wheelchair, which I had done for the last 3 years, on a diet of morphine of 500 milligrams a day.
Wow.
Or, of course, amputate the leg. And so I opted to go ahead and amputate the leg. That way I'd be mobile again, I thought. After we did that, I sat on my couch for, years on end. About 2 or 3 years I just sat on my couch. And I had a great deal of depression. And, I grew up in Montana, hunting, fishing, climbing rocks, the whole 9 yards that a kid would do and, a young adult would do. And, when you lose a limb, you lose a great part of your life. And I didn't know whether or not I could do those things I once did. So anyway, I got a phone call from an individual from Heroes Outdoors, George Peacock, and he invited me to go out on a bass fishing trip. Well, I was so much into myself, I told him yes, because he kept on bothering me with that I had no intentions of going. And so the night before the event, he calls me up and he says, you're still going, right? I'm like, well, he says, I'll tell you what, he says, I'll pick you up in the morning. Okay. So anyway, after, years and years of struggle, and I've got to say one thing, Jeff. I've just got to give my family all the credit for the support that they gave me. I don't think I could have done anything without them. But I had lost all hope in life itself. And I didn't care whether one day if I was alive or if I was 6 feet under.
I understand.
So anyway, I went fishing on this bass fishing tournament with Heroes Outdoors, and that whole day I had nothing but a smile on my face. And I thought, maybe there is a little bit of hope for me. And so I had a great day that time. It was so great getting around some of the other guys, on that camaraderie, and just visiting with people that have experiences that I had experienced, over in a sandbox. It wasn't pleasant over there.
Yeah.
And I'm sure many people can vouch for me. But anyway, I went fishing, had nothing but a smile on my face that day. And I said, you know what? Maybe I can do some of these things. Well, a couple months later, they gave me a call. First I went back into my state of depression again. I had a good day, went back in depression. They gave me a call and said, hey, we have this elk trip lined up for you. How would you like to go? Well, I'd only been on my leg for about 4 months. And, of course, and again, that doubt starts falling in again. Can I do this again? And I said, well, sure, I'll give it a shot. So I went out on an elk hunt. And after that, it was kind of the turning point of my life. A lot of walking, had a lot of fun. And after that, I got myself a running leg from the VA, started running. I got myself a bicycle, started cycling, and life started to pick up. I had a smile on my face. The relationship with my wife and kids changed. And I got to tell you, had they not come across and give me a call, I don't think I'd be here today, Dad.
Mark, let me interrupt you right here and ask you a couple of questions and then also make a statement. I have found in my life, and I had polio at a very early age of 5 and lost the use of both legs, and then my right leg came back, and now it's causing me all kinds of trouble. But irregardless of the fact of what's going on now, I think that youngsters, when they lose a limb or use of limbs at an early age, they can cope with it much better than older individuals, especially people returning from the service that have been very active in athletics and everything else prior to that injury. And it's harder for them to cope with than it is youngsters. Would you agree?
Yes, I would. And, anytime that you do lose a function of a limb, it's hard. But yes, I have to agree with that because we've got life experiences behind our belt.
Right.
And when all that stuff is taken away from you, it's a different standpoint. They haven't learned quite yet what their abilities are, and they're having to cope with their disabilities more sooner than if not.
Absolutely. And somebody that was as active as you were, and I'll put this in the form of any and all of our servicemen. God bless them. I mean, many come from athletic backgrounds. Many come from backgrounds of maybe they were mountain climbers. Maybe they were swimmers, bicyclists, whatever the case might be. And when that's taken away, there's a real depression that sets in because they're missing something they think they will never have again. And I can understand entirely where you're coming from.
Yeah, when you lose that and you're not sure, it's the unknown that gets you.
Right.
It's the unknown that puts you in that depression. And not having the resources, that was another issue. I didn't have the resources to go out and do these things again. And, Idaho Heroes Outdoors, they gave me that resource. And they did, they gave me the ability to actually go out and do these things.
Right.
And that after that, I have done more since I've lost my leg than I did prior. I've since then picked up rock climbing. Just got back from a rock climb this last weekend over at City of the Rocks with Warriors Rock. And I'm scheduled to climb El Capitan next year.
Oh, my. Congratulations. Mark, let me ask you this.
I think one thing I'd like to say, too, is it's not anybody that has an issue or missing a limb, you can't focus on the disability, but you got to focus on your ability.
Absolutely. Mark, what about Mark, just a second. What about Idahoan Heroes? How can we, the general public, how can we better help our returning men and women from the service to create more advantages and opportunities for them like you were provided? I mean, what do we do? How do we help?
Well, I was going to get to that, and I'm glad you asked me that question. After they got me out a couple times, I wanted to get back to veterans and do the same thing for veterans that Idaho Heroes Outdoors did for me. The thing I think the most that we could do to help these veterans is get the word out that there are programs out there, such as Idaho Heroes Outdoors, that, are willing to help you and change your life. And one thing, too, it's not a clinical environment. And that's huge. You get around some of these other organizations, it's a clinical environment, they try to change you. But with Idaho Heroes Outdoors, it's open. I think the great outdoors is great medicine. We're not there to try and change your lives, but to give you an experience of a lifetime. And to get the word out and let people know that, yes, we are here for you, and we're not a clinical situation. And Zeb, we need volunteers in a bad way. We're a nonprofit organization that nobody's paid, and we need help really bad. We do our own fundraising. We have 30 Civics that is, he was also a recipient of Idaho Heroes Outdoors. Mm-hmm. And he puts on a golf scramble for us, and he really helps us out as far as the funds goes. But they can also help by donations.
Right.
We go out, we have about 3 fundraisers a year, and it costs an average of anywhere from $8,000 to $1,000 to get each one of these warriors out.
Mark,
In the past 4 years, we've gotten over 100 warriors out. So that kind of tells you what we're looking at.
Right. Mark, how are people selected to go on the various hunts or the fishing trips or whatever? Is there a criteria that's developed? Is there a board of directors? Tell us about that.
Yes, sir. This year we just restructured the organization. We have a board of directors, and we have an operating staff. For anybody that's interested, I'll give you my number at the end. They can contact me. We do have a website. It is www.idaho, then the letter N, heroesoutdoors.com. People can go there. The warriors can go there and fill out applications for any event they want. There's a comment section at the bottom, and if a warrior wants to go hunting or a warrior wants to go fishing, then they can document on that comment there, you know, I would really like to go hunting or I'd like to go fishing, you know, either deer, elk, whatnot. But there is an application process, and for those that want to donate as well, we do have a PayPal account that they can donate through there.
Absolutely. Now, you mentioned about the volunteers. Now, what kind of folks, and when I say kind, I mean what kind of backgrounds, what kind of personalities, what kind of people are you looking for as far as volunteers are concerned?
Well, we're looking for people that get the visions up. And the vision, our vision is to get warriors outdoors, change lives, and build relationships. If you want to help a warrior and change your lives, and you have the time, this is the key, is if you have the time, even if you can put in maybe 2 or 3 hours a week to help us, or help us on our fundraisers. We need people on our staff still. We got to build up our staff yet. Right now, there's only about 10 of us doing it, and we need a lot more help than we got. So anybody right now would be a great blessing.
Mark, is this program, Idaho and Heroes, are there derivations of it in other states and other areas?
Not at this time. We do have an individual who is doing an internship up in Moscow who will carry it up there. And we have had other individuals inquire about maybe opening up a branch of Idaho Heroes over on Boise. So yes, we're very open-minded to that as well.
So number one, you want volunteers. Number two, which really should be number one, you need resources, you need money. But is there a centralized number, or is there a website that people can go to?
Yeah, once again, our website is www.idahoandheroes.com or .org. If you would like to volunteer for anything, I would be willing to take all the phone calls. At my personal number, I'm the executive coordinator for Idaho and Heroes right now.
Okay.
And my number is 208-404-3559.
You know, Mark, it sounds to me like Idaho and Heroes needs to have some commitment from some corporations or businesses to get involved and really get this thing off the ground, right or wrong?
Absolutely. Right now, we're looking for any corporation to, for instance, this year we were looking for flying miles. Anybody that has flying miles to bring some veterans from out of state on a hunt would be greatly appreciated. We're looking for someone to donate us a vehicle that we can transport these veterans. Say, for instance, we got our fishing derby coming up on the 6th of September. Bringing people down from Boise, that would be just, that would be such a blessing to us that words cannot even imagine.
Okay. So there again, they can call you on your phone and they can help. We'll keep promoting it on this program. Once again, go ahead and give us your number and the website so that people can write it down if they missed it the first time.
Again, my name is Mark Yearsley. My phone number is 208-404-3559. Our website is idahoandheroesoutdoors.com or .org.
Okay.
And once again, I want to say thank you to every veteran out there who has served our country. And I would say, Flight, that also says that anybody that would be willing to help a veteran, please call me.
Absolutely. Mark, I want to tell you how much I appreciate your taking the time to come on our program, and I certainly hope in the future that you'll be able to come over here to the studio and we'll do a full segment right here in my studio and promote it again. But Mark Yearsley with Idahoan Heroes, thank you very, very much this morning.
Thank you so much for having me, and it's been a pleasure and an honor. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mark Yearsley, and the number again, if in case you didn't get it written down, it's 404-3559. 404-3559. Idahoan Heroes, they need support. They need help, and they in turn are helping other veterans. Thank you very much. Hey, we've got to pay some bills here real quick, and every Thursday we have a segment on this program called School Days in Cassia County, and we're very blessed that we have two businesses that really help put that program on the air, and they are A Child's World at 1308 Overland and Burley. Oh my, it's back to school time. They got all the back to school shirts, $9.99, and jeans just $15.99, and they got a new shipment of Robies and Petaped shoes. You better believe it, and they also carry school uniforms and great free gift wrapping too. They got a lot of neat birthday gift ideas, etc. at A Child's World, 1308 Overland Avenue in Burley. And our other sponsor of Cassia County School Days is Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Drive in Burley. If you're anticipating a hand surgery, cataract surgery, arthroscopic knee surgery, colonoscopy, please give them a call, and they may be able to save you a lot of money. There's a lot of savings all the time for the patients at the Ambulatory Surgery Center in Burley, right across from the hospital. Call 677-8888. That number again, 677-8888. Ambulatory Surgery Center at 1344 Highland Drive in Burley, and A Child's World at 1308 Overland in Burley, bringing you School Days in Cassia County. Once again, a reminder, before we turn it back over to our main studios this morning, that we are going to be broadcasting live and direct, and this is going to be on September 11th, Patriots Day, at Ramsey Heating and Electric. It's our annual salute, hats off to farmers, and Patriots Day. And we're going to be starting, first of all, in the morning, real bright and early, with George Mass serving a great big benefit breakfast, and that's going to be biscuits and gravy and all the trimmings. That's going to start about, I think, 6:30 in the morning, and the proceeds go to the uniforms for the Youth for Liberty, and there's going to be all kinds of door prizes and everything else, and it's going to be great. And then all through the broadcast that morning, we're going to be giving away door prizes and interviews with local veterans, all kinds of fun right there in our Hats Off to Farmers and Patriots Day at Ramsey Heating and Electric, coming up on 9/11, September 11th for this year. Don't you miss it. Oh my, let's see, what else have I got cooking here on my list this morning? I think that's going to wrap it up, and we'll go to Gina just a little bit early and see if she's ready. We'll send it over to our main studios, and we'll be back in just about 3 minutes. Don't you go away.
And now, back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Best.
Oh, thank you very much. And as was stated earlier, there's a big change going on at the headquarters of the studios this morning. They're changing the entirety of the computer system, and thus we weren't able to play the opening for Leah Carawan, Executive Director for the Congressional Prayer Caucus Foundation, and I apologize for that. But good morning, Leah. It's nice to have you on the program again. How are you?
Good morning, Zeb. It's wonderful to be back. I'm doing well. Thank you.
You know, tell us a little bit, before we get into the crux of the matter that we want to discuss this morning, tell us a little bit about what is and what does it do, the Congressional Prayer Caucus Foundation.
Sure, I'd be happy to do that. The Congressional Prayer Caucus Foundation was established to work alongside the congressional and state and local leaders across this nation who are building a network of like-minded leaders committed to protecting our religious freedom, preserving our Judeo-Christian heritage, just basically to ensure that prayer and God and faith keep their enduring place in this nation.
You know, Leah, I don't even know how to approach this because I get so upset and downright mad that we, the United States of America, it seems like we're catering to the atheists. We're catering to those that want to throw God and any mention of God or the Bible out of our lives and our heritage. Is atheism stronger today than it was 10 years ago, and why?
Well, I think you're right. I think there are some people who are catering and giving in, and I think it's some people at both in our government and a whole lot of people, also citizens and people in authority at every level of society. And yes, I do think that they are stronger in one sense. They've been emboldened and they've been able to use some pretty intentional, aggressive bullying tactics, using threat of lawsuits, using this misapplication of In God We Trust, and also playing on the fact that we have an ignorant, uneducated populace now, people in authority that don't understand what the rights are in this nation. We still have the rights on the ability and the freedoms that we have. The Constitution, the laws, policies, everything is still on the side of protecting freedom, and the fact that we absolutely can pray and mention God and talk about God in every level of society. The only reason the atheists are stronger is because the people that believe in faith in God are not standing up against them in full force.
Okay, now, right there, though, Leah, and I want to take some time and have you really discuss this. I don't care if it's a football coach in Georgia. I don't care if it's me as a professional rodeo announcer that goes all over the United States and Canada. I never start a performance without having a prayer. I refuse to be dictated to. And I'll tell you something. I've mentioned this story on my program before. At a rodeo in Oregon not that many years ago, I was told not to say the prayer because the committee man said there was one complaint. And I said, only 1 out of 10,000, I'll do the prayer, or you can announce the rodeo. I don't know why we're catering to such minorities. Please tell me why.
No, that's exactly right. You hit it on the head. That example that you gave just now is exactly what's happening across this nation. And people are either going to do what you did and say, I will not cater to the 1 or the 2 or the 3. Literally, we're talking about many. We're not talking about the masses. We're talking about a handful of people make a stink, make a complaint, very intentional usually, and sometimes planted even. And the rest of the people suddenly backpedal and backtrack. If everybody would do what you just said that you do, Zeb, we wouldn't be having this problem in America, because the vast majority of Americans believe exactly what we believe, and the fact that we are free and we must continue to evoke our God and to respect and reverence the existence of our Creator and express the fact that we're free because of what He's done in our nation.
I'm really at a loss as to, is it through political correctness? Is it because of a dumbing down in our school system that people don't understand our rights and our Constitution? I just don't understand. Is it because we've lost the kind of a Saturday Evening Post cover story of families gathering at church and then sitting down and praying for the meal after church? I don't understand why we've adopted this philosophy that we can't talk about God.
I think you just mentioned 3 of them. I think it's a perfect storm. It's all of the above. All the things that you just mentioned. It's a lack of training in our education system. We don't take God out of and prayer and everything out of the system, and then expect the fact that as students are going to grow up, you can't revise history in our schools and then think that somehow the children are going to get this information from some other place. Our pastors are being bullied into being quiet. They're not talking about it in the pulpits anymore. They're not talking about the absolutely crucial. It's crucial that we remain a nation that is founded on religion and faith and God's place in this country. If we want to remain free, you don't hear that from the pulpit. You're not hearing that in the schools. And then it's what you said is political pressure. You're certainly not hearing it in the media. So where are they going to get this information? And then you add on top of that a very intentional, orchestrated, well-funded, small group of people who are bent on ensuring that their agenda go forth, which is an anti-God, anti-faith agenda. Remove God from this nation, make it a secular nation, make it a socialist nation, make it a something other than what it is. And those people are well-funded. And yeah, perfect storm of an opportunity where they feel like they can slip in here and completely fundamentally change America.
Leah, I'm very confused as to this ambiguous and ridiculous situation that we have in this country. Our currency says, "In God we trust." You can't hardly go into any hall of Congress or the judiciary or anything in Washington, D.C., and not see all the symbols and the slogans that are religion-based. But yet they'll go after a football coach in Georgia because he knelt down and prayed with his team. This is so absolutely ridiculous. I don't even know why we pay attention to these people.
Yeah, you're exactly right, and it's bullying, and they found some strategies like threats of lawsuits, things like that, and judges. They've also put positions of people in authority at the highest level in our government, at state and national government, a handful of people that are doing their bidding, and they're just working all the angles. And I think you said it exactly right. If people understood that, yes, "In God We Trust" is a perfect example of that. In 1864 was the first time it was affirmed by Congress. In 1956, it was put in law that "In God We Trust" is our national motto by President Eisenhower. Then it was reaffirmed in 2002 by our president. In case people are thinking that this nation has changed so dramatically and it's no longer relevant, in 2002 it was reaffirmed. "In God We Trust" is our national motto. In 2006, it was reaffirmed by our Senate that "In God We Trust" needs to be our national motto. And then in 2011, our House of Representatives, the U.S. House, reaffirmed it as our national motto, and they added, "Encourage the public display of it in every school and government building across the nation." Now, that's not a nation and a government leaders. And let me just add one more thing. 7 court cases have been brought against our national motto "In God We Trust" just since, I think, 1996, just that I'm aware of. They've all been defeated soundly, and instead the judges affirmed that, yes, "In God We Trust" is appropriate as our national motto. So we have this broad base of high-level support. And so that's why we launched the "In God We Trust" campaign, to create a re-education, reaffirmation, re-proclaim. Let's put God back up in America.
Leah, I applaud you for your efforts, and I say thank you for all that you're doing. But what about the other side, the insidious minority other side? What are they doing? What are they planning on doing for more attacks, like little mice coming out of their holes late in the evening? Are they planning on attacking the Pledge of Allegiance? Are they planning on attacking the use of the Bible in the court system? What are they planning? What are you going to have to fight in the future?
Well, I think I can't speak for them. I can only see what they are very, very vocal and verbal about on their websites, and what I see them doing. The answer is yes. They've come after absolutely everything. They've come after the National Day of Prayer, "Under God" and our Pledge of Allegiance. They came after the putting up of "In God We Trust" in our Capitol Visitor Center, just simply stating that it's our national motto. They came after even putting a Pledge of Allegiance and the Declaration of Independence in our Capitol Visitor Center so that everyone could see it. They're coming after God's name and in all of our monuments. Of course, we all know they're coming after crosses. They're coming after any symbol of faith that would give any indication, whether it's historical, whether they don't really care. They would prefer to scrub our history of any mention of God or faith role in even in the founding of our country. And yes, they're using the judicial system. They're trying to put us on the defense. And I think that's why, too, what I'm saying to the Americans is stop playing defense. I mean, yes, we have to defend what we have, but we have to go on the offense at this point. It is time for us to stand up and say we're not only are we going to defend our right to pray anywhere in the public, whether it be at government or schools, not only are we going to defend our right to proclaim that God's place in America, but we're going to go on the offense. we're going to step up and stand forward and say, we're going to aggressively go on the offense and say, we're going to start putting God back up in our schools. We're going to start putting God back up in our monuments. We're going to make sure that God's place is at the forefront, and that we make a strong stand and boldly go on the positive side of this as well as just defending it.
But, I want to go back and I make it sound very basic, but school systems being told they can't have a Christmas tree, or they can't have a Christmas pageant, or they can't sing Silent Night. Yes, they can. Yes, they can. There's no way in the world that they can be stymied or stopped from that. Or whether it's a coach praying with his team or his team praying. Yes, they can. I mean, why are they being cowed? Is it because the school districts are not taking the time to understand their rights and they're just being bullied by these people?
Yes, that's exactly what's happening. People don't take the time to understand their rights. They are being bullied. They listen to the handful of people who have the loudest voice. And the places where the people stand up, Andrew Jackson said it beautifully, and he basically said that it is the eternal vigilance by the people is the price of freedom, price of liberty. If the people in that town, in that situation, that are right there on the ground, do not rise up with one voice and say, we will not have this. We absolutely are going to make sure that our children can express their faith in the public square, and that we can mention God and prayer. If the people in that situation don't rise up, they will lose their rights. And I don't think people in America, and you hit it on the head, we've said it already a couple times, it's ignorance. People in America don't realize if you do not protect your freedoms, it's only one generation away from extinction. We have to be vigilant and ensure that nobody removes or takes away the freedom. And every citizen that loves freedom has to stand up and fight against it everywhere they see it.
Yeah.
Every time they see it happening.
Absolutely. I'll give you another example. A couple of years ago, I had a threat that was offered to me because on my program, a lot of times, and I'll probably say it to you at the end of our interview, I'll say, God bless, and please come back on the program in the future. And I'll say that to any and all of my guests, God's blessings to you, and I hope that everything goes well, etc. And people were offended. Some people were offended because I said God bless on the air, and I got a letter from that was signed by about 3 or 4 individuals, and they said, don't do that anymore or we'll sue. And basically my response is, go ahead, get your best attorney you can find and try to shut me up, because I'm not going to change my modus operandi. And if you don't like it, basically listen to Barry Manilow music.
That's right. And didn't you just describe what think about it. All across this nation, that's what you're hearing. Stop doing that or I'll sue you. Stop mentioning God. Stop praying. Stop doing what you're doing or I'm going to sue you. And the truth is, more of us need to say what you just said, Zeb. Fine. Go ahead and sue me. We're going to have to pay the price for liberty, and most of them will back down. There will be some people that will sue. We know that. Lawsuits are happening all over the place. But if we will, they can't sue all of us.
Wow.
If we will all stand up, they will run out of money, they'll run out of steam, and they won't have this, the ability to bully us anymore. And I just want to encourage you, Zeb, there's people all over this country that are fed up and they're saying, I'm done. I'm tired of being told we can't do it. We've got government leaders all over the place. We have citizens. We have business owners. We have people, we could list them, everything from what's in the news now, Hobby Lobby, to the tax assessor in Texas that's saying it's going on my documents that are going out to the, individual businessmen, to the gentleman in that held an In God We Trust rally when the federal government told them we're going to cut off your funds if you don't stop telling these young military, recruits that, training them under God. And he said, fine, cut off my funds.
Right.
And that's exactly what needs to happen, is what you're talking about. Stand up and don't take it.
What about the In God We Trust window campaign? Let's wrap things up and tell us about how that's going and how people can be supportive.
Sure, absolutely. And this is just one way that we've put forth an opportunity for every single person who's tired of being told they have to be quiet, they can't take a stand. We just created these simple, tasteful, In God We Trust. They're white lettering, In God We Trust, our national motto, and you can put it on your home windows, your car windows, your business windows, and we're trying to get 1 million window cleans up in homes, cars, houses, of every city and neighborhood. We have had tremendous respect, participation in this. People can go to ingodwetrust.com and they can buy their window cleans. It's $5. That includes shipping and handling. They can buy 7 of them, buy 10 of them, give them out to your friends and family. They're even less when you buy higher quantities. We have organizations. We have nearly 30 organizations, large groups that are promoting this campaign. We have celebrities that are on our video. There's a 2-minute video. We're asking you to share it, pass it around, get everybody that you know. Because again, and this is just one layer. We have, art contests happening around the nation. We have, Jackie Sullivan is getting In God We Trust up in city councils. But this is a simple thing that every listener that is listening can participate in. Go to ingodwetrust.com and get your window clean.
Absolutely. Leah Carawan, the President and Executive Director of the Congressional Prayer Caucus Foundation, I salute you. And anytime you want to come on this program, you feel free to do so and bring us up to speed. And may I say loudly, God bless you. And have a great day, and thanks for being on the program.
Thanks, Zeb, and God bless you, too. Have a great day.
All right, thank you very much. Very nice lady right there. Leah Carawan with the Congressional Prayer Caucus Foundation, and she's standing up and saying, yes, sirree, we will stay in God we trust. You better believe it. Oh my, it's time for the weather. I almost forgot the weather this hour. Brought to everybody by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Selling taste one bite at a time. Locally owned custom meat processor for over 20 years. And they guarantee everything that they sell. My goodness, they've got a summer barbecue special. 50 pounds of beef, pork, and chicken. Delicious. Have you had one of their marinated tri-tips? Oh boy, it is good. You better get a hold of them today. Scarro's Meats, 324-7657, selling taste one bite at a time. And right now, here is Michael Rogers' weather.
Everyone, Michael Rogers for Zeb and the Ranch. Not a bad day for it. Based on our brand spanking new week of you, me, and weather. Sunny and hot, 90 for the high, 63 for the overnight low. Slight chance of a thunderstorm. And that'll take place for today and also for tomorrow. So your weather's kind of going to go up and down throughout much of the week. But otherwise, no major watches of warning are in effect. And just typical Magic Valley summertime weather. So enjoy the weather, summer weather you got.
Thank you, MichaelRogersWeather.com. The world's best weatherman, brought to you this hour by Scarro's Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. The number to call, 324-7657. Sell and taste one bite at a time. Oh, yeah. Oh, Gina's over there. I bet you need a little respite from all the buttons and the wires and the people leaning over your shoulder and everything over there, don't you?
Well, it's not that bad. Jerry actually left, but I've got this new computer screen and everything, but all of my normal computers, the way we have everything normally set up, is completely backwards now.
So, wait a minute. When you say backwards, so like everything you do for this program is going to be the rear end of the duck flying north?
No, what I mean is where our computers are placed is backwards from where it normally is. And so, like my mouse to control the computer that you're on is in a completely different location. And so it's just kind of like, once you get used to your workstation, then you don't even really have to look. You know where everything is at. Now I'm having to pay attention to what I'm touching, or I might touch something that I don't want to.
So tomorrow on the program, it's very possible that I might be obliterated and you might get a Joe Biden speech.
No, it could probably be that instead of me airing Michael Rogers' weather, it would be me hitting the moo of the cow.
You know, now, yeah, but Gina, that's happened before.
I know. I mean, that's no different. But it's just it's just getting used to the feel of the studio again, because everything that is normally where it should be is now in a different spot, and so it just doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, but you know something? I can empathize with you because we're all creatures of habit. Mm-hmm. And I sit here at this desk. Now, you have not been in the studio over here, and I've got everything within arm's reach. Now, sure, I know that this desk is a mess, but it's my mess, and I know where everything is. And we are creatures of habit. I know that the computer and the mouse is over here on the right. I know that I've got the transmitter and everything over here on the left. I've got all this here. And when we change it and we have people come in and say, well, you can do this here and you can do that there, your first response is, hey, dude, hit the road on a run because I want to do it my way. It's hard to change.
It really is hard to change. And so with the new computer system that we're getting ready to install, nobody has ever used, and the one that we currently have, I've been using since the start of my radio career, which was 15 years ago. I've been using the same computer system for the past 15 years. So now everybody is going to have to go through 2 weeks of classes just to learn how to run the new system.
Now, it's going to be so that you can access all the different radio stations regardless. Is that right?
Yes. The ultimate goal, and this was the vision, is that we should be able to access every single station and go on live on every single station from any one of our on-air computers.
So Kim had a vision.
Kim had a vision, and he's making it happen.
And so he sat in a teepee and smoked peyote, and he had a vision.
or something, I don't know.
He's going to kill me for that.
Probably so. It's going to be an exciting venture because this will add more capabilities to what we do and honestly for what you do there as well. So it's going to give us more capabilities, but there's going to be this learning curve because nobody here in the building knows how to run this system.
Well, you know what, you ought to have old Mr. Lee give me a call. I'd like to find out more about this. This is interesting.
I shall have him give you a call because it's rather intimidating. I'm not really intimidated by computer systems, but this one, and Jerry actually has one up and running in the main studio that I work in. And I was like, well, Jerry, what does this do? Well, Jerry, what does this do? And so I started, and he's like, Gina, I swear to God, if you push any buttons, I'm going to break your fingers.
Well, one of them launches rockets over to North Korea. Yeah.
I know, and so basically he shut the computer down, he password locked it, so I could not get on there and tink with it, which I was kind of bummed.
You know, and see, in my case, the last thing I even have an inclination to want to do is get, like you said in your words, get on a computer and tink with it.
Well, see, and that's the only way you can truly learn all of the options that a computer program has is if you just sit down and start, okay, what does this do? Okay, well, what does this do? And you're hoping that you don't, like, blow up anybody or, melt down the stations. But that's the only way you can truly learn the ins and outs of a computer program is to sit down there and go through all of the options. And he's not giving me that opportunity.
Well, doggone them. Hey, I got to pay some bills. I'm almost out of time listening to all this now that you can stop cars on the interstate and launch rockets and everything. That's great.
Yeah, I could take pictures of people when they're speeding. And
which would be an everyday occurrence if you follow me. Anyway, don't forget all 7 locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh, they've got all your tires. They've got all the different tread designs. They've got it all there for your cars, pickups, SUVs, horse trailers, boat trailers, anything you need tires for. And I'll tell you something else, too. All the prices on these tires are absolutely within your economy and your pocketbook. Absolutely. You stop in for safe driving with the best of tires at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. And the best in brake service. The very best of front end alignments and shocks and struts. And, of course, batteries. But always the best of service. They really take care of you at all 7 locations. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family over in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley. 7 great locations of your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You stop in and see them today. Wow, we made it through Monday. That's an important fact. We made it through the day, and tomorrow on the program, oh boy, don't miss. We've got Ron Kessler, New York Times best-selling author, with his book, The First Family Detail, talking about Secret Service agents that have revealed hidden lives of the presidents and their wives, i.e. Bill and Hillary. Oh, yes, you've seen him on television. He's going to be here tomorrow. And many, many other guests, including Dr. History. Don't miss it. Zeb at the Ranch tomorrow morning at 8:06. The way things were, the way things ought to be. God bless.